Ananya Singh and Meera Varma, two young women from very different worlds. One born into wealth and privilege, the other raised in simplicity and discipline. They were bound not just by friendship, but by a secret love that defied their families, their society, and even the law. For a while, they believed their hidden marriage could protect them. But behind closed doors, passion turned into obsession, and devotion into danger. What began as a forbidden romance ended with a shocking crime that shook an entire nation. This is the haunting story of how love, silence, and secrecy collided in the lives of two Indian girls who married each other and how one of them never came back. In 2017, in a quiet town in Uttar Pradesh, India, two girls named Ananya Singh and Meera Varma met during their college years. Ananya was the daughter of a wealthy businessman who owned textile factories, while Meera came from a modest background, her father a schoolteacher. At first glance, they seemed like complete opposites, one came from privilege, the other from simplicity. Yet, sometimes life forges the strongest bonds between people who stand at different ends of society. Their friendship began with study sessions in the college library. They exchanged notes, shared books, and soon discovered that both loved literature and music. They started spending long evenings together, sometimes sitting silently under the banyan tree near the campus, sometimes laughing endlessly in the canteen. For everyone else, they were just close friends, nothing more. But behind those quiet smiles and endless conversations, something deeper was taking shape. As the months passed, their bond turned into an attachment that neither of them could deny. When Meera's landlord increased rent, Ananya suggested they rent a flat together near the university. They moved into a small apartment on the third floor of a pale yellow building, far away from the curious eyes of their classmates and families. Neighbors saw them cooking together, shopping for groceries, even returning home late at night, always side by side. In a country where two women living together often raised eyebrows, people still assumed it was nothing but friendship. But what looked ordinary from the outside was extraordinary on the inside. Their closeness grew into love. They wrote each other small notes and left them under pillows, they planned dreams of traveling the world, and on quiet nights, they whispered about a future where no one could question their bond. Yet, they knew the harsh truth: India in 2017 was not a place that welcomed their kind of love. The law itself stood against them. Homosexuality had been decriminalized once in 2009 by the Delhi High Court but criminalized again in 2013 by the Supreme Court, making Section 377 of the Indian Penal Code active once more. By 2017, same-sex relationships existed in a dangerous gray zone, stigmatized by society and vulnerable under the law. The fear of being exposed haunted them. Ananya came from a powerful family that believed in strict traditions, while Meera's father was a respected teacher whose reputation in their small town was everything. If their relationship ever became public, both families would react with outrage, and the consequences could be devastating. Despite these risks, they decided to mark their bond in their own way. In the winter of 2017, inside their apartment with just two trusted friends as witnesses, they exchanged simple silver rings. There was no priest, no rituals, no legal recognition. Yet, to them, this private moment was more sacred than any grand wedding. They promised each other loyalty, secrecy, and protection. They believed love itself was enough. For a time, everything seemed stable. Their secret world gave them joy and comfort, even if it had to be hidden behind closed doors. But every secret carries a weight, and their love, intense, fragile, and forbidden, was a fire burning too close to danger. They thought they were strong enough to carry it, but life had already begun weaving a darker story for them, one that neither could escape. In January 2018, just months before a historic shift in India's legal stance on same-sex relationships, Meera Varma suddenly vanished. At first, her absence went unnoticed. Students assumed she had gone home for a few days, perhaps to see her parents. But when a full week passed without her attending classes, alarms began to sound. Her professors reported her absence to the administration, and soon her father filed a missing persons complaint at the local police station. The police started with routine questions. Ananya, being Meera's roommate and closest friend, was the first person they turned to. Calm and collected, she told them that Meera had left for Lucknow to visit her family and had promised to return soon. On the surface, the explanation seemed reasonable, but small inconsistencies in her story raised suspicions. For instance, Mira's family confirmed she had never arrived in Lucknow, nor had she contacted them. Even her phone had been switched off since the night she disappeared. Investigators dug deeper. They checked CCTV footage around the university campus. The last confirmed sighting of Mira was 2 days before she went missing. Cameras showed her leaving the library late in the evening with Ananya by her side. After that, no trace of Mira was found anywhere, no ATM withdrawals, no train or bus tickets under her name, no digital footprints. It was as if she had vanished into thin air. The case quickly captured the imagination of the local community. Newspapers printed dramatic headlines, with some suggesting Mira had eloped with someone, while others hinted at darker possibilities. Neighbors recalled that the two girls were always together, but lately, they had overheard heated arguments through the thin walls of their apartment. A shopkeeper even claimed he had seen Mira crying outside the flat one evening. None of these details were concrete evidence, but they painted a picture of growing tension. By February, the case had gained traction across Uttar Pradesh. Journalists began circling the story, intrigued not just by the mystery but also by the unusual closeness between the two young women. Rumors began to swirl that their relationship might not have been just friendship. In a conservative town where even casual rumors could ruin reputations, this speculation only added more pressure to uncover the truth. Police eventually searched the apartment the two shared. At first glance, it looked tidy, almost sterile. But experienced officers noticed signs of hurried cleaning, disinfectant stacked in the bathroom, freshly scrubbed floors, and clothes hastily thrown into bags. Then came the discovery that changed everything: small traces of dried blood behind the cupboard. The samples were sent to the forensic lab, and within a week, the results confirmed the blood matched Mira's DNA. This breakthrough escalated the case from a missing persons inquiry to a suspected homicide. Ananya's calmness during questioning now seemed rehearsed, her explanations shallow. Investigators started piecing together timelines, examining her phone records, and cross-checking her alibis. Every layer they peeled back revealed more contradictions. The pressure on the police grew as television news channels began covering the story under sensational titles such as College Love or Hidden Crime. Reporters speculated endlessly about what might have happened. Social media flooded with theories. Some accused Ananya's wealthy family of silencing the truth, while others claimed Mira had run away due to family pressure. But one fact could not be ignored: the blood in their shared home, silent yet undeniable evidence that Mira's disappearance was no ordinary case. What began as a missing girl story had now turned into a mystery that gripped an entire city, leaving everyone to wonder whether love had truly vanished or if it had turned fatally dark. Under mounting police pressure, Ananya's carefully constructed composure began to crack. Days of questioning and sleepless nights in custody wore her down. At first, she stuck to her story, repeating that Mira had gone away willingly and would soon return. But the weight of the evidence was overwhelming. When confronted with the forensic report showing Mira's blood in their apartment, her calmness disappeared. Her voice shook, her eyes darted, and finally, she confessed, admitting that she and Mira had been secretly married. It was not just friendship, she said, but a bond that they had promised never to reveal. Her admission was explosive. The police had suspected something more than ordinary friendship, but hearing her describe a hidden marriage stunned even the most seasoned officers. Ananya went on to say that while their relationship had started with love, it had grown increasingly strained. According to her, Mira had been withdrawing, avoiding long conversations, and spending more time with classmates. She claimed Mira had told her about her family's plan to arrange a marriage with a man, and the thought of losing her completely sent Ananya into panic. But confession alone was not enough. Investigators pressed her for details about Mira's whereabouts. After hours of questioning, Ananya finally revealed what she had done. She admitted that one evening, during a heated argument, she lost control. In a fit of rage, she grabbed a heavy brass lamp from the table and struck Mira on the head. The blow was fatal, and Mira collapsed instantly. In her panic, Ananya said she cleaned the flat, moved the body, and tried to erase every trace of the crime. Yet, there was still one unanswered question: where was Mira's body? Following Ananya's directions, the police searched her family's farmhouse on the outskirts of the city. The property was vast, lined with mango trees and tall grass, and far removed from prying eyes. After hours of digging near a particular tree, officers uncovered what they feared: human remains wrapped in a sheet. The forensic team confirmed that the body belonged to Mira. The post-mortem revealed more than just blunt force trauma. It showed that Mira had multiple bruises, some older than the fatal injury, suggesting a pattern of physical altercations before her death. This evidence shattered Ananya's claim that the killing was a single, impulsive act. It hinted at deeper violence within their hidden relationship, a fact that prosecutors would later use to strengthen their case. Alongside the physical evidence, police retrieved data from Ananya's phone and laptop. The search history painted a chilling picture: how to hide a body, poisons that kill instantly, and punishment for murder in India. These digital footprints suggested planning rather than a spontaneous act. Text messages between the two also revealed cracks in their bond. Mira had confided to a friend, "She follows me everywhere. I don't feel safe anymore." The words carried the weight of a young woman caught between love, fear, and the suffocating grip of control. News of the discovery spread like wildfire. Media outlets across the country carried the story on their front pages. It wasn't just the brutality of the crime that gripped the nation, but the revelation that two young women had secretly married in a society still wrestling with acceptance of same-sex love. Debates raged on television talk shows. Was this a case of obsessive love turned violent? Or was it the tragic outcome of a society that forced two women to hide their truth? The farmhouse burial, the forensic revelations, and the chilling confessions transformed what had begun as a missing persons case into a headline-making murder mystery. For investigators, the puzzle pieces were now falling into place. For the public, the story had become a grim mirror, reflecting both the extremes of human obsession and the cruelty of social stigma. The trial began in late 2019, and from the very first day, the courtroom became a stage for one of the most talked-about cases in recent memory. Reporters filled the benches, sketch artists captured the expressions of the accused, and television crews broadcast live updates to millions of viewers. What made the trial extraordinary was not just the brutality of the crime but the fact that the story involved a secret same-sex marriage in a country where such unions had no legal recognition. For many, it was the first time they had heard such a relationship openly described in court. The prosecution built its case carefully, brick by brick. They began with forensic evidence: the bloodstains in the apartment, the fingerprints on the brass lamp, and the burial site at the farmhouse. They called forensic experts who confirmed that the injuries were consistent with a heavy, deliberate blow. The prosecution also presented the chilling search history from Ananya's laptop, which included phrases such as "how to hide a body," "quick poison," and "can police trace deleted chats?" To the jury and the judge, these details suggested planning, not a sudden outburst. Text messages and WhatsApp chats between the two girls were read aloud in court. In them, Mira pleaded for space, while Ananya repeatedly accused her of betrayal. One of the last messages from Mira was especially haunting: "If I disappear one day, remember it was not my choice." The courtroom fell silent when these words were presented. The defense, however, attempted to shift the narrative. Ananya's lawyer argued that she was not a cold-blooded killer but a young woman overwhelmed by circumstances. He claimed she was under severe emotional and psychological strain due to her family's rejection of her sexuality and the fear of social humiliation. A psychiatrist testified that Ananya displayed traits of borderline personality disorder, which could lead to extreme reactions during moments of stress. The defense pushed the idea that the act was a crime of passion, not premeditated murder. The court sessions often turned tense. At one point, Mira's father, sitting in the gallery, broke down as the forensic photographs were displayed, showing the injuries on his daughter's body. His grief-filled outcry had to be calmed by police officers. The image of a father mourning the loss of his only child became a powerful symbol, replayed on news channels across the country. Legal experts brought in statistics, noting that between 2014 and 2018, more than 200 honor killings had been reported in India, many linked to relationships that families did not approve of. Activists argued that the stigma faced by LGBTQ+ individuals contributed to secrecy and tension, indirectly creating environments where tragedies like this could unfold. The defense leaned on this argument, suggesting society's rejection of their relationship drove Ananya to a mental breakdown. After months of testimony, cross-examinations, and media frenzy, the Allahabad High Court prepared to deliver its judgment. The judge, aware of the public scrutiny, read the verdict slowly, carefully choosing every word. He acknowledged that while the relationship between Ananya and Mira was unconventional in the eyes of society, the law could not overlook the brutal facts of the case. The evidence, blood, weapon, confessions, and digital records, was clear and conclusive. The court declared Ananya guilty of murder under Section 302 of the Indian Penal Code. In delivering the sentence, the judge stated firmly, love, however forbidden or hidden, cannot be used as an excuse for violence. This court recognizes the challenges faced by couples who defy societal norms, but no social pressure justifies the ending of a life. Justice demands accountability. Ananya was sentenced to life imprisonment. The decision was met with mixed reactions. Some activists saw the case as proof of the urgent need for legal recognition of same-sex relationships to reduce the stigma. Others viewed it as a simple matter of crime and punishment, where obsession and control had led to a deadly outcome. Outside the courthouse, protesters held placards. Some read "Justice for Mira" while others carried banners calling for equality for all love. For India, the trial was more than just the resolution of a crime, it had become a national debate on love, law, and the limits of human obsession. The verdict left the nation divided. For some, it was a straightforward case of murder and justice served. For others, it symbolized something much larger, a tragic consequence of a society still unwilling to fully accept same-sex relationships. News anchors debated late into the night, not only about Ananya's guilt but also about what might have happened if the two girls had been free to love openly without fear. Would secrecy and suffocating pressure still have driven them into such a destructive spiral? Documentaries, podcasts, and opinion columns dissected every detail of the case. A popular news magazine described it as the tragedy of a forbidden love, highlighting how India's legal and social environment contributed to the spiral that ended in blood. Forensic experts explained how carefully the crime had been concealed, while psychologists analyzed the mindset of someone who could not separate love from control. Each perspective added another layer to the already complicated narrative. In the years following the judgment, Ananya's name became notorious. From inside prison, she was portrayed by some as a symbol of obsession and violence, while others painted her as a victim of social rejection. She spent her days in isolation, away from other inmates, partly for her own safety. Reports from the prison suggested she maintained a quiet demeanor, reading books and avoiding conversation. Her once powerful family, humiliated by the publicity, distanced themselves completely, making only minimal contact. For Mira's family, however, the pain never faded. Her parents returned to a small house that now echoed with silence. In her memory, they established the Mira Varma Memorial Scholarship Fund, which supported underprivileged girls in pursuing higher education. Within 2 years, the fund had already helped more than 50 young women continue their studies. Mira's father, though broken, told reporters during a rare interview, "I could not save my daughter, but perhaps her name can still bring light to someone else's life." His words resonated across the country, turning grief into a form of legacy. Meanwhile, legal debates over same-sex marriage were reaching India's Supreme Court. By 2022, petitions had been filed urging the recognition of such unions. Lawyers and activists even referenced the Ananya Mira case, arguing that denying couples legal recognition forced them into secrecy, which could escalate emotional crises. The story became part of legal literature, cited in conferences and academic research, not only as a criminal case but also as a social study on stigma and repression. When the Supreme Court finally heard arguments on same-sex marriage in 2023, the story resurfaced in news coverage. Though the court ultimately declined to legalize such marriages, saying it was Parliament's role to decide, the Ananya Mira tragedy remained a touchstone in the conversation. It highlighted how societal denial of basic rights could intersect with personal vulnerabilities, producing outcomes that were both criminal and heartbreaking. Even years later, criminology classes across Indian universities included the case in their curriculum. Professors presented it as an example of how love, when forced into secrecy, can mutate under pressure. Some highlighted the psychological element, others focused on the legal battles, and a few stressed the importance of social change to prevent similar tragedies. On social media, the memory of the two girls lived on. Every year on the anniversary of Mira's disappearance, activists shared her photograph with the caption, "Remember her name." Some saw it as a call for justice, others as a symbol of hope for a future where no one would have to hide their love. The story, though rooted in crime, continued to ripple through society as a reminder of how fragile the line is between devotion and destruction.